I'ma get $1 million in the bank.
What up, y'all? It's Torre, and this is Rap Latte.
And I am King Green. Deeper conversations about hip hop. What are we talking about today, man?
Yo, there is an absolute intellectual food fight going on Black TikTok. Shit is bananas. This is probably
Black
the
TikTok.
biggest food fight I have seen on TikTok ever. Do you know what's
Okay.
going on with the whole Beyonce Bowl situation thing?
I just saw some of the clips that was sent with your girl Hannah.
Hannah.
Okay.
So the Beyonce Bowl happened. You saw the Beyonce Bowl. It was beautiful. Beyonce was resplendent and beautiful and wonderful, and everything she does is perfect. And after the show, Hannah, who is mixed but Black culturally and politically and very intellectually strong and a brilliant person and very politically tough and revolutionary and lefty. And she says, Beyonce is a great propagandist. And Black TikTok freaks out because you can't say anything about Beyonce without people freaking out. So Hannah comes back and she says, look, Beyonce is a propagandist within this moment because she is spreading political ideas through her work. Like she spread pro-Blackness and pro-feminist ideas through Lemonade, through Renaissance. It was very pro-LGBTQ and pro-Black again. Cowboy Carter is very pro-Black. But if you look, Hannah was focusing specifically on the Beyonce Bowl. And it's very pro-Americana. Right, there's a lot of red, white, and blue. There's the flag. They're dancing on the stripes. It's a lot of them, and it is sort of inviting you to be proud of being American. And the key line in Hannah's second, longer video that really makes us explode. She says, "Why would you want to be proud to be an American if you're a Black person? Like, what is there to be proud of? The white supremacy, the empire, the participation in genocide in other countries, the long-term oppression of Black people where we have to continue to fight to get justice, the country of Donald Trump. What is it that we will be proud of?" This led to a whole other explosion because a lot of Black people, I think especially, were like, I like that Beyonce gives me the permission and the space to feel American and proud to be American, and like, can I just have this just for a minute, Hannah, please? So the world is attacking her and she's trying to deal. And then somebody says, when Hannah was young, she was, this is a quote, suckling on the teat of the oppressor because her mother is white. So this somehow invalidates and dismisses what Hannah has to say, which then leads to all these people attacking that person. Hold on, we're not done. We have 3 more chapters.
Oh, there's still more?
There's all these people attacking that girl for saying, how could you say that about Hannah? Don't give me this monoracial privilege. Like, it's not like she's not Black because she's half Black. And then all these people are like, well, why are y'all coming out to defend the light-skinned girl so hard? Like, what's with your colorism and you repping for her? Like, what's the matter with it? And then somebody... the next chapter I can't even recount. There's DJ Soul Child or something, and there's says 40 messages and then made a live, not live anymore. It gets real messy. And as you can see, the conversation spiraled way far away from Beyonce propaganda and Americana and Black people being proud of America. And I want to focus our conversation on that, because I think that is a much more interesting conversation than whether or not a biracial person who is definitely culturally and politically Black into their DNA.
That's its own, like you said,
on our issues. That's insane.
That's its own thing, but I think it lends to what the actual issue is in that statement of, is Beyonce a propagandist, or is it okay to be proud to be Black and American? That's such a multi-layered statement. It's hard to not get to, for someone to start trying to attack your Blackness, your Americanness, because you're talking about what it is to be Black. So someone's going to attack that because they feel a certain way about it. Let's go back to the Beyonce propaganda thing.
Let me say one thing.
Go ahead.
If I was in a room full of Black people and I said, what the fuck do we have to be proud of to be about being American? Most of them be like, yeah, word up, my nigga. Yeah, word. I'm down with that.
Depending on the
But
setting.
But when you
Go ahead.
put, well, the black conservatives know, but like I think most, but
No,
like
I'll say
when
what
you
I'm saying.
put
Go ahead.
Beyonce into the equation, now people freak out because the sentence must always be Beyonce did X plus Y equals Beyonce is right. Like, it must always be that.
But
So
no,
any critique of Beyonce, people's fucking brains fritz out.
I agree. I agree with the fact that any critique of Beyonce, people's brains freak out. You know me in words. So propagandist has a traditional negative connotation to it. So someone who's just hearing the word propagandist, they put it with anything else with an IST at the end of it. When you say it, it sounds like you are a capitalist, fascist, capitalist, communist, propagandist. All that is to someone who doesn't know language is going to be like, what? Not Beyonce.
Yeah, but the
okay.
definition of propaganda does not necessitate it being negative.
It does not necessitate
It doesn't
being negative.
necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah. So does it manipulator, right? That doesn't have to be a negative thing, but that's going to come off as a negative thing. So that's just language. But we gotta be real about how people use language, which is the same thing of the nuance of this discussion, which I'm interested in what your perspective is. Is she a propagandist by the definition of there's political messages that she's pushing through her music? Of course. And that's why I started liking Beyonce's music. Because now
Yes.
there's a political message in the music. And the bowl has a political message. All these black people in Americana wearing white, you think that's not a political message?
Of course
You
it
think
is.
you think the simple message is that go America? Is that the simple message Beyonce was saying?
Well, yes. Yes.
You think it's
The
that only?
I mean, no, not only Beyonce is
Okay.
complex and layered, but part of what is happening in the Beyonce bowl iconography and aesthetics is a permission to be proud of being American. And that is problematic if you have a critique,
It's not so much.
a significant critique of America, because America
Let's
is
do a thought
white
experiment.
supremacy, empire, black people still don't have justice, all these sort of things. Like it's easy to go,
Well, let's
America
do a
is
thought-
McDonald's and blue jeans. It's not.
It is and it isn't, right? Let's do a thought experiment from what you said before. You said you put a bunch of black people in a room and say, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Like, what the fuck
Yes.
is it? Why do we gonna be
Preach.
proud to be America? Right?
Preach.
And everyone's like,
Let's go
yeah,
back.
preach. You can hear everybody.
Preach.
Yeah, okay. Same room. In your neighborhood, someone yells, Brooklyn. Everybody yells Brooklyn, right? Everybody's proud to be from Brooklyn. Where the
Yes.
fuck is Brooklyn? What
Oh
country
no
is
no
Brooklyn in?
no no.
Listen, listen to what I'm trying to say.
No.
Listen to what I'm trying to say before you can say, oh, no, because that's just a fact. This is a thought experiment. Understand the
Yes.
fact that that's what will happen, right? And it will happen with America. You're gonna do it because there's a nuance there where your black experience and the culture you've created within this oppression is real. Your ethnicity that got created by this is very real.
Yeah. You want me
Yes.
to thank the country for oppressing
You're not
me,
thank-
and thus I
you- because
created
you're
a
saying-
culture out of that?
You're saying thanking. I'm saying understanding. I'm saying there's levels of this. I don't think that she's asking for permission. One, because Beyonce's music and her messaging was never about asking for permission.
No, she's
so I don't know.
giving. No, she's giving us. I mean, like the question has to be, what is the propaganda that you are saying is about? Right? It could be positive, negative, whatever. It is saying, black people, you could be proud to be American. And Hannah and I and many others are saying that's a problematic thing. When she was using her
If
power
you
propaganda to talk about LGBTQ people, that was uplifting an oppressed group. Love that. Now
I
you're
think-
drawing us into like, it's okay to love being American. And I'm like, is it though?
If you think about it from a nationalist sense, yes, nationalist propaganda. If you're saying, because I'm just having fun with this perspective, because I think it's interesting that if we say you're proud to be black, you're black American, you're talking about that ethnicity. If someone goes, this happens a lot, where a black American could go to Britain and they have these things on TikTok where a British person's like, oh, you don't know where you're from. You don't know where your culture's from. Nigga, I'm from America. A black American person is gonna be like, I'm from Brooklyn. What are you talking about? And my parents are from my parents are from Memphis. We're from America. Now, they are a black American ethnically, right? Culturally. These are the things that they are. This nation that Americans have built doesn't see them as Americans and has been oppressing black Americans since the inception of the country, correct? So that's the issue that you guys are talking about. But there's a reality that black Americans do not exist outside of this country. They exist here. Black American is something got created within this oppression. The black American identity got created within this struggle and oppression, and that needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
That
I'm celebrating black Americanness for sure.
But
that
you
is a
can't
country
get black
within a country.
Americanness without Americanness. And here's what let me make the distinction, because you guys are going straight to nationalism and nationalistic views and white we want to celebrate America in a white supremacy point of view and perspective. Who says that's what's being happened here, and that's the propaganda that's being pushed? I don't think that is.
How could you possibly divorce America from that? Especially as we're
I didn't divorce America from that.
But we can't, especially as we await the reascendance of Trump. When he did extremely well.
Applying political
election
You're
day.
applying political perspectives to this
America
imagery
can't
and
not
her
be
propaganda.
that.
You're talking about America. We're talking about Beyonce, correct? Did she
Yeah,
say
but
that I'm
she's
American
talking about
and I'm only American?
No, but she's talking about America, and especially with Cowboy Carter, it's very much you can be proud to be American. And I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm not really sure why she's choosing to go there to be so whitewashed American on Christmas Day for the NFL. I have a previous vision of her as a Black Panther on a football
At the
field,
Super Bowl
right?
field, yeah.
Right. So she did the Super Bowl. She
But
did the
why
Black
can't you
Panther.
give?
Now
Here's my
she-
thing. Here's my thing. If this person was putting her fist in the air as like a Black Panther on her Super Bowl field, there's two things that could happen here. Years later, she's all in white and in cowboy iconography, and we're forgetting the Black Panther iconography. So we're just saying that she is, and now we're assuming what the statement and messaging is. I want to have a voice as an American and be proud as an American that supports the white supremacist perspective and iconography. That's what we're assuming that's saying, that I want to have a seat at the table in oppression, elitism, and imperialism. That's what we're saying. That's what we feel that's Bowl is saying.
I mean, when you are dancing on the stripes, have the dancers with flags in their pockets, the cowboy hat, the Cadillacs, the horse, it's all very Americana. And placing Beyonce within that package, who is like the beating heart of Black America at this point, says to so many people, it's okay to love these things. It's okay to feel a love and a patriotism and a pride in America. And that is inherently problematic. And I don't even know why it's so complicated as we're about to have Donald Trump come back to, we feel more divorced ideologically and politically from the country than I have in a long time. I mean, the first Trump was one thing. Now y'all did it again, and he got some Black people to ride with him too. I'm like, God damn! Like Brooklyn, you talk about Brooklyn as in America, it barely feels like it. It barely feels like we are even connected.
Well, I'm saying Black people represent their cities with the same amount of pride that white people in that sector represent America with the nationalistic pride, right?
Sure, but those are two different conversations.
They're not
right.
The same conversation.
We aren't and can't be emotionally just unabashedly proud and patriotic about the country because the country has been so shitty to us the whole fucking time,
I
including
know
up till
this, and we
now.
know this. Obviously,
Our
I agree with
relationship
that
to
statement.
Brooklyn or Compton or Chicago or what have you is entirely different. These are small, relatively small, but as far as the country, small communities that we have created to sustain ourselves. That they happen to exist in America does not then absolve America. You know,
Who said
you
it
take me
absolves?
back to
I'm
like
not saying that it absolves
you say,
America. I'm pointing out the actual issue here, where why people and black people are going to have issues with being on the same side when it comes to this Beyonce propagandist perspective. I'm just pointing out that we know
why are
that
you proud
America.
to be? Why are you proud to be American?
Why am I proud to be American? Did you
Yeah, you
asking
seem
me
to
this
be
question?
yes, you just said you seem to be
No,
defending the notion of like.
no. I'm saying you're you got a narrow view on this debate where
That's
it's
what
like
but that's what she's talking about.
no, she's putting out her narrow view on the debate because she's like, oh, this is my political perspective and America sucks, so we can't promote America.
Wait, what do you think the
Prob-
Beyonce Bowl is about beyond? Let's have this is a celebration of America. I mean, like it's clearly a celebration of America and Americana.
and blackness. That's not a.
Yes.
So if you put
Yes.
black and American together, whether it's good or not, whether you agree with the situation, I'm not taking a side on this. I want people to think beyond themselves and their own political narrowness. That's all I'm trying to think about this when I think about this topic, because I just think there's so much nuance to this where we're just saying, no, America, she's doing this for showing that she loves America, and America's nationalism in a country is completely wrong, which it is. It makes no sense. Other countries don't freaking do that stuff like America does. Like they don't. No, they don't do it like America does. That was a statement.
Well,
If you go to
well,
Germany, it's not the
Germany,
same way as
Germany would like a word.
no.
France
Germany
would
is
like
not.
a word.
It's not the same.
Italy, Italians love Italy. It's
You
not
might
necessarily
love your
compare America to other
country. You might love your country, but the way that within that sector of America, the way that the flag is used and the way that nationalism gets projected is not the same. When you go out to these other countries, it is not the same. People love their country. Yes. I'm saying what we do over here, or what Americans do over here, is way different. So I'm saying that is not okay with that type of nationalism propaganda. And I agree with you that as a black person, as an American in general, you might be like, what the fuck is it to be proud to be American for when you think about the ideals of America? But it's the same. What I'm trying to say is that everyone is implicit in a lot of things that happen in America. Everybody's a part of a lot of things that happen in America, whether they like it or not. The same way that you might look at this person and say, like, Elon Musk, I fucking hate this guy personally. I don't like this dude for what he said about for what he is in general and what he said about so many different communities, the Haitian community, black people in general. He comes from an apartheid state, and let me land the plane. I'll show you where I'm going with this. This nigga is a billionaire that freaking sucks, and people are like, we got to eat the rich, we got to eat the billionaires, but don't direct their energy at the real problem, which is capitalism in general, and our entire system of money is creating this situation. And yes, that guy's a part of the problem, but we are also a part of the problem. As Americans, we are a part of that problem of capitalism, and we try to remove ourselves as an individual from it when it's a communal and community problem where we allow these people to do these things, and then we just point fingers and talk about it while they continue to do these things. We are implicit, and that's my issue. And in this statement with her, she's like, Beyonce's a propagandist. And look at that. She's saying it's proud to be in America. So what would we rather Beyonce do? One, where do you come in that conversation? And what does it mean for her to be a propagandist, to put black people in a space where they're usually not? What is that?
But the question is, where does she use and how does she use her power as a propagandist? And, you know, as far as the attention economy, Beyonce is like the size of, you know, a major country, right, in the world, right? As far as much attention she acquires every time she does something. So this is not like, I don't think that to use the word propaganda, if you saw Beyonce as a country, as far as the way that people pay attention to things in the world, then it would not seem strange to say this country, this person, it's the same thing, are putting out ideas that they believe in. And when it was ideas that were lifting up Black people, lifting up women, lifting up LGBTQ folks, then you are lifting up marginalized communities and you are uplifting Black people and oppressed people. And that's a beautiful thing to see somebody who is a powerful blonde billionaire lifting up others, right? And the benevolence of the Beyonce mission or movement was part of her whole thing. I went to the Renaissance show in New Jersey, and there was so much sort of love there because people felt free to come to the show in whatever non-binary, way that you wanted to do, or non-traditional gender role, whatever you wanted to self-present. And there was a beauty and a love of self and others that came from that. What does she do with that sort of energy when we get to Cowboy Carter and the Beyonce Bowl? Because now she's saying, oh, I was rejected quite rudely by the people of that country over there, which is the country music world. So I'll show you that I can do country better than you and better than you even imagined that I could do it. And I will be bigger and I will be so big that you can't even ignore me. And they said, haha, bitch, we'll still ignore you. No, your shit is huge and it's dope and we'll still ignore you. You're wrong.
We still hate you because of racism.
But she's come back with her country statement. And part of it is it's okay to be proud to be from the South. It's okay to be proud of being American and to engage in these country things. And country has become extraordinarily white. It's a very white space now. It was not historically, obviously. It comes from Black music, as everything does, but it is an extraordinary white space. So she is helping us. Within Cowboy Carter, there is absolutely an uplifting of Blackness, an uplifting of the Black part of country music, of American music, the uplifting of old and new or contemporary country singers and rappers. And I love all of that. And I love the assertion of Blackness that is in that. But there's also a patriotism and a welcoming into feeling good about being American. And that is a dangerous
You're saying it's problematic.
Emotional thing for Black people. And I don't really think that it's even controversial to point that out, that she's doing that, just the same way we saw when it was Baychella, we all saw HBCU, right? That was obvious, right? When she did the Black Panthers, we saw that. It's the same thing here. So the question becomes, how is she using her propaganda? Y'all got stuck on, is she a propagandist? That's the easy one. The question is, how does she use her propaganda? The next question is why, and y'all ain't even ready for that. But like, how she's using it here.
Well, I think
this is
the
what
why
Hannah's
is
saying.
what creates the problem. I think the why and how, people have a different understanding of how and why, and then figuring out if you agree with the politics is the issue when it comes to the Americana thing. What I see, I agree. In general, I agree with the idea of like, yes, if you project certain iconography, it's going to confuse people, and then now they don't understand what's going on. But my political sense is telling me that people don't understand what's going on in the first place, and that's my issue with when you start talking about your politics, because I don't agree with a lot of people's politics when it comes to certain things, but because it's such a nuanced thing. So what I want to say though, but how I see the Cowboy Carter album and that performance as a visual projection of what that album is, it's like the artist Kehinde Wiley. We know Kehinde Wiley, right? He did the portrait of Obama, and his work, if anybody doesn't know his work, he places Black figures in European iconography and European medieval times and all that type of stuff to show that juxtaposition and as a statement of representation, of power and representation, and making Black people a part of the cultural canon. I think that's the exact same thing that she was attempting to do with this. And does it relay the message I think her intentions is that, and I think that does it relay that message in the same way? Because putting a black person in medieval times when they're fighting the Moors, they don't fuck with black people in that space. Race is not the same thing as in that time period, or putting a black person in an oppressive space.
I kind of see what you're saying, but Kehinde is painting us into museums where we had traditionally not existed, right? Like, I'm sure there was a time when you could walk through the Louvre and you would not see any black subjects, right? Forget the black painters, but there you wouldn't see black subjects. He is creating art that paints us into the museum space and says we are part of art history.
Cultural space more than just museum space, but yeah.
For sure.
It's bigger than that.
Beyonce's talking about patriotism, or at least the one part of what she's talking about is patriotism. Kehinde is not presenting an idea that we should be patriotic, that we should be pro-American or pro-European or whatever. He's just inserting us into that. Beyonce is inserting us in a similar way as Kehinde, but the problem aspect for us, for Hannah and I, is more like the patriotic aspect and making it comfortable for black people to be patriotic, which is very problematic.
But what makes it patriotic? Just the flags, or is the cowboy hats too and horses?
The whole
Denim
thing. Yes, I mean
I think flags make it
the whole
patriotic.
thing.
I think
the
flags
were everywhere, but also yes, the hats and the Cadillacs and the horses. I mean, like when you all these
black
other
people
things.
drive Cadillacs. Hold on, black people drive Cadillacs. Black people were cowboys. Cowboy.
I understand that.
I'm saying the image of a cowboy isn't even a
when you
really
talk about
connotation.
Thing. When you talk about connotation, I mean, like, what are we seeing?
So that's my
When
issue. That's what I'm trying to say.
We see a Longhorn Cadillac and we see a cowboy hat. These are Southern things, right? And black people may have also engaged in them. But she's talking about patriotism about America, right?
The
and
flag.
country music can often be seen as a symbol for America, this white-dominated space. So she's saying, let's get our way into and be proud of being in this white space. And we're like, damn, you were a black-centric queen. Like, where was that? And you're elevating black people in the Cowboy Carter mission. I know that. But there's also this patriotic aspect to the Beyonce Bowl performance specifically that triggers some of us who are more critical of America.
Yeah, I think it's reductive and narrow-minded to look at that and not see that. I'm not saying that her the execution makes sense, because I would never do something like that to say the same thing. I'm going to say that the intentions, because I don't think the executions of anything, because it's like, if you're doing Black Panther stuff, why are you doing it at a Super Bowl? To me, that doesn't make any sense. From my artistic and political perspective, she had that intention and she does it. So I could look at that and be like, that doesn't make sense. The same way that people who have their own reductive perspective on what's going on in her artwork, because I'm talking about the work and the visuals, can look at the performance and just see the Americana. It's like Americana equals proud American equals white oppression. This is not a This is not a non-true statement. That is not a non-true statement. But why is she putting all black people in that? And her album is that. I think that there might be an execution issue and a visual issue. But the larger statement that I'm making is the nuance of being a black American. It's just so nuanced. What a black American is, and that's the actual issue, because there isn't one way to be a black American. So her from Texas going up, she knows niggas who might have that type of Cadillac, wear denim, and have cowboy hats. It's like, I know that. That's my Uncle Johnny. That's that. And then say you want to project that stuff. Now it's like, oh, I agree that American flag and all that type of shit. You might look at that and be like, whoa, what are we doing here? We're at the Super Bowl, American flag. What are we doing here? But at the same time, She could just be from that place, and it's like, you know what? What am I supposed to do if
No,
if
but I
grew up
mean,
around this?
well, first of all, I mean, everything with Beyonce is intentional. She's brilliant. She is thoughtful. She's a propagandist, right? As we are QED. So, like, every aspect of what happened on that stage is fully thought out, right? So nothing is like, well, I just happen to be from Houston. It reminds
Happen
me
to
in
be from
part.
Houston is not saying that's not thought out, though. You can't reduce what I said in that way. It feels like you did.
No, but
I'm saying
she's-
that's a part of her as a black person from Houston.
The performance, the cultural performance in Cowboy Carter and the Beyonce Bowl are authentic. That is clear, and that's part of what she's saying. This is my life. I grew up around these records and around this culture. I feel the cowboy hat looks good on me, right? That's why she doesn't just wear it on stage; she wears it to the Grammys too. This is me. This is me. I'm not just wearing this to signal to the record audience. I'm doing a country album. Like, this is part of my culture. This is part of who I am, my personal culture. I'm not saying none of this is inauthentic. It's extremely authentic. I am reminded, and this is hard for some people to fully grasp, I think the criticizing America is hard for some people. It's hard for them to wrap their head around because it's such a large thing. Because, like you said, well, we live in America. So, the movie Black Panther, and I mean, really both of them, are extremely progressive, but also regressive at the same time. In both movies, the people of Wakanda are fighting against people of color, not against white oppressors, and they are aware that their oppressors are white, but they are fighting against black and then brown people. And in both movies, one of the most trustworthy people in the film is a white CIA agent, which is a symbol of you can trust some people. Yes, they trust him. They nurse him back to health. He helps them. They listen to him. He is like the only white.
Okay,
he is like the only white person who they consider to be good.
Let's talk
about
that.
And when he first shows up, T'Challa's like, "Oh, him." Like,
yeah,
we know.
Yeah,
him.
but we're
not mad at him.
Let me ask the question on this because I think that's a great analogy.
But this is a symbol of how within the universe of Black Panther, they are telling you, well, you can trust the American government, which is insane. And the people of Wakanda would never be behind a message like that.
Wakanda doesn't exist. Anyways, so but let me talk about that because that's a great analogy. Because overall, I guess my point is how you look at art versus the politics that are being displayed. So you just explained what narratively happened in Wakanda movies, both of the Black Panther movies.
Yeah.
And if that's what happens here, that's how Black people have been within this country since its inception. That's always happened. As a whole, as a sector, where we have no representation, we have no spot in the government that is just for us. We have nothing that is just for us within this country. Can we agree to that?
Okay.
So that movie just represents the reality. That movie represents the reality of what something is. So you could look at it and be like, this is propaganda showing what things should be like and making you okay with it, right? You could look at it as, oh, this is maybe that's an intention, and this is showing you what exactly is happening in America, in our world as Black people, and the difference in how different Black people in the diaspora see each other. You could look at it in that way. You could look at it in so many different ways because someone in Africa might look at that movie with a different perspective in a different country in Africa, South Africa or Nigeria or wherever, could look at that movie in a different perspective than you just did and see that. Because they might look at it as like, look at them still going with the white people, right? The Americana perspective on Beyonce Bowl, which I agree that if you just put out American iconography in general, is like, what the fuck is this? This is just some white nationalist shit. I agree with that statement. What I'm trying to say is the art of, just like what Kehinde Wiley is doing, what the intention is of the artist, and then how people have different perspectives of what Blackness is, what America is the actual issue, and not what Beyonce's doing. Is my only perspective. It's like there's a bigger problem that isn't her being in a cowboy hat. That's my issue, is that the conversation becomes about Beyonce being a propagandist, and it's really about the complete dispersed perspective of what it means to be a Black and American in this society, in the world.
See, when you say to be a Black American,
yes,
we are going to feel proud about that. I am unquestionably proud to be a Black American and proud of the resistance and the community and the culture and all those sort of things. That you made it more complicated, or made it less complicated, right? Like, just talk about being an American. Are you
did
proud
she
to
just
be?
talk about being American in
No,
that?
are you proud to be American? Not a Black
No.
American.
I don't give
You're
a
proud
fuck.
to be
I
an
don't give a
American.
I don't care. Here's the difference. Here's I don't care about any of those
That's
things.
a that's a more difficult question.
That's not a difficult question for me personally, because I said my political views.
Well, yeah, because you said no.
I'm a citizen of the planet. I see myself as a human being on the planet. I don't believe in borders and boundaries.
So you're not proud of being American because you reject borders entirely.
I reject that entire concept because it's like, you guys own land. Okay, we're different. I have a different perspective on what.
Wait, don't you
own
land?
Owning. I also use money. I use money. I own land. I do everything in this society that's trapped me within this system.
Let me say one thing.
Let
me say one thing, because you said before the problem is capitalism, and Simon Sinek is a brilliant writer who just did an interview, or just pointing out a point of economic history that really explained something to me. And he's like, the problem is not capitalism. The problem is modern capitalism, and
Same
capitalism
thing,
was no. It's not the same thing. Capitalism was originally, the baker wants to make money, so he will make he'll make the best possible cakes that he can, and each person will do the best that they can.
It was like ham, cheese, farming. You put it together, you agree that Beyonce has an issue, or Elon Musk has an issue, but I also have an issue. And I think that's the same thing with the propaganda statement that we're talking about. I agree that America has their issue. And I agree that Black Americans have our issue. I agree that the entire Black diaspora has an issue because there's infighting that you're talking about that comes from that Wakanda movie. All this infighting, all this discussions, and not a clear
I mean, our
yeah.
Black Americans' big problem is not infighting; it's white supremacy.
I just said that. I agree that. I agree.
That's the number one problem.
That's clearly an issue. That's clearly
No,
an issue.
no, that's the issue. That's the number one issue. The problem is not rap music. It's
But
not
what are
video
we?
games,
No,
it's
but
not-
what are we
it's
doing to
white
combat?
supremacy.
But what are we doing to combat that? Just talk about it, or
See,
try
this,
to?
but
that's
this is,
the
but
combat.
this is part of what the critique of Beyonce is getting at. That the meta story that she's telling is that through Black excellence, you can break through any door. You can achieve anything. And that is a really nice story, but that is not reality. And
Agreed.
for some of us,
Agreed.
that works, but for many of us, that would never work.
Because
And
you're
you
not
could
going to
never
get the
be-
opportunity as a Black person. Most Black people are
Yes.
not going to get the opportunity that Beyonce had, and all. But one thing that the artwork is doing is putting power through representation, and that's the one thing I want to talk about because we're looking at things in such a small, finite way, in a narrow-minded way. When you apply such politics to it, when I talk about what we're doing, of course, white oppression is the first thing. Of course, why the fuck are we here? You know what I'm saying? Well, of course that's the first thing. But now that's the first thing. Okay, that we know that. Now, what are we doing to get here? Now, and why are we fighting over here about some dumb shit when that's the first thing? That's kind of my whole point with the propagandist thing. She is giving you the power of representation and cultural canon the same way that Kehinde Wiley put some nigga in a fitted on a horse in a medieval night.
But because Kehinde wants to put certain ideas about the world in your mind. That's what a propagandist does. Almost any successful artist is a propagandist. They are putting their ideas about the world in your mind. Kanye is political, but he does not have an idea set that he wants you to adopt, right? You know, Jay-Z has ideas about the world, but I don't think in his music he's saying, this is the way I want you to see the world. This is the way I want you to see me, but he's not describing his book. Beyonce has been describing how she wants you to see the world, right? As far as women, as far as gay folks, as far as Black people. And, you know, this was another step toward that. I'm not saying it was a mistake. I'm saying that there are aspects of saying Black people be proud of being American, or you can be proud of being American, that is difficult.
It's clearly difficult because the simple statement riles some people up and other people's in a different way. And that's, I guess, my entire conversation is the fact that it riles you up and creates a separation. Let's think about that and talk about that. What does it mean for it to be two different sides of this idea? Because you could take one person who's like, you know what? Yeah, you know, we was cowboys before. And yeah, we could do that if we're Black. And then someone's like, no, we're talking about America's propaganda. But it's like, if she wants to be a cowboy, there's two different conversations that happen at the same time. And it's because of what... Yeah.
It's probably because it's Beyonce and she is right so often, and she's been so dope for so many years. And I think about, like, you know, if somebody was like on stage and they were like, you know, women need more power, and you're like, yeah, and like Black people should be proud to be Black, yeah, and you know, gay and lesbian people are welcome anywhere, yeah, and America is awesome. Wait, what? Wait, what did I miss? What?
But that's
no,
my statement.
Pump the brakes. We're not going there.
That's my only thing, is that, of course, in that image, America is awesome.
That's not the only thing.
But it's not the only thing
that
being
Cowboy
said.
Carter and Beyonce Bull are saying, and I don't want this to be. She's just saying that. Nobody is saying she's just saying that. Beyonce always brilliantly has multiple messages going through her music and her presentations. But this is clearly one of the messages of that presentation, and that is a problematic message.
There's so many things that I could pick out problematic about Beyonce if I wanted to just sit there and think about it.
Don't do
There's
it.
so
Don't
many
do it.
things
Don't do
I
it. Don't
wouldn't
do
do
it.
that.
Don't do it.
But
The
there's so many
agency
things that
will arrest you.
Yeah.
Don't do
There's
it.
so many things that are problematic about Beyonce, different hip hop artists and rappers. We could look at her entire life, and I could put out so many things problematic about me as an individual, everyone. I'm not disregarding those things. I'm just thinking about this person put out an art, tried to represent people in a place that they're usually not represented, and that's one aspect of it. And then there's the fact that she's doing it with America, and then you're like, you know what? But I don't really feel like America should be. I don't really feel like America should be represented at all. Maybe nobody should be in that space. That's the conversation that people are having when it's like, but you are in that space. That's the unfortunate nuance. But whatever. We're just going in circles. Either way, I agree with you that that Beyonce is a propagandist and that there's messaging in her music, if that's the definition. But there is also a negative connotation to that word, which I wouldn't always put. But yeah, and I agree that
what
promoting America is, makes no damn sense. It just doesn't make any damn.
I mean, come on, we
solely
come from
promoting
hip-hop.
America makes no sense. It just
We
makes no
come
fucking
from
sense.
hip hop.
But what about the American
hip-hop
flag
is-
behind Kendrick at the Super
Hip
Bowl?
hop. I mean, I am curious to see how he plays that out. But generally, hip hop, the message is "fuck America."
But
Fuck
But we
12,
saw
Fuck Bush,
American
fuck
flag.
Trump.
We saw the American flag behind Kendrick at the Super Bowl.
At the trailer, I know.
At the
We'll
trailer
see.
for the Super Bowl.
We'll
But that's
see.
an
We'll
artistic
see.
message. I'm just saying, but that's an artistic message. And then when it's other things, it's not an artistic message. Same thing. Jay-Z, Kanye, American flag behind them in the Maybach, in the, what's it called? Otis video.
In the Otis video.
What do we make of that? So many times.
I think there's a difference, and I wouldn't have art directed that, but I think there's a difference between, Jay-Z and Kanye screwing around, and there happens to be an American flag there, because I don't think that there's some aesthetic message that they were making.
No,
with
it
that
was a
song.
very aesthetic message.
No,
It's
but
a shot.
that wasn't talking about like, here's our message about America. Cowboy Carter and the Beyonce Bowl are a conversation about America, right? About Black people's space in country, about country's space in our lives, about the South, about like, she's talking about America. They weren't making a meta conversation about America. So I would put that in a different sort of conversation. Like they just, that's
They just happened to be there. That's what you feel that was. That was I ain't supposed to be here. That was like, you see this giant American flag. Niggas who look like me ain't supposed to have these things. Ain't supposed to be driving around in a Maybach. And you niggas in Paris, literally, that's what the whole album is about. It's like, nigga, we ain't supposed to be here, and we did it. That's what that message is. And I think inherently hip hop is political, and we've said this, so we could put that to bed. This has been a great conversation. I'm glad to have
For
on the other
sure.
side, but on the same side at the same time. I don't know how I did that, but I did a great job.
Pat himself on the back. I
Pat
did
myself
a
on the
great
back.
job.
I did a fucking great job. In the comments, let me know how great of a job I did.
If I did a good job, how great a
No,
job
I don't
did
care
I
what
do?
they said. I did a great job. All right, we out.
We
That's
out.
Rap Latte.